All right, let's move on because there are a couple other ones I want to touch on in the SEC here. Let's start with this. Is Mark Sears okay? Like, I don't know. I'm sure you guys saw this, but at the end of the Alabama game in the second half, he was bad in the first half. I think he was 0 for 5 scoreless, had a couple turnovers, was being more like the facilitator, and Alabama struggled in the first half. He gets benched in the second half. I don't know what happened in the locker room. I have not heard from anybody on that staff that it was anything significant that happened in the locker room, but it kind of makes you wonder when he doesn't come back off the bench. There's at one point in the second half, about 11 minutes left, the cameras caught him crying on the bench, right? And it's not the first time that we've seen him spend the second half of a game sitting on the bench. We were told it was voluntary against Illinois. I'm going to go ahead and assume and believe that, and assume that we were being told the truth there. But I just wonder if it seems like there is a little bit of a disconnect there between Nate Oates and Mark Sears in terms of what Nate Oates wants and what Mark Sears is providing. So, Tio, I'm going to ask you this. You've coached, you've played, you kind of know how some of these relationships work. Are you worried about that? Is this something where Nate Oates is trying to take a hard line with how he's coaching? And when you do that to your best player, how much do you risk? I don't know if alienating is the right word, but if you're doing that at the end of January, like, there's 10 games left in the regular season. Then we got the games that really count, man. Like, I feel like.
Hold on. I want to stop that phrasing right there. Every game in college counts.
Okay.
Every single freaking game. Sorry,
right.
Go ahead. I don't want that. I don't want that stigma like, oh, well, March, like the NBA playoffs. That's not the case in college. Like, every game counts.
You know what?
Teams lose.
You needed to correct me on that one because we corrected you on saying that teams shouldn't play anybody good early on in the season. So you're right. I will take that L. T.O., thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome. And thank you, John Fanta, for correcting us on Milos Uzan.
Yes.
Is that right?
A lot of corrections. Yeah. We need a corrections corner.
You know what? That's the great thing about this podcast. We hold each other accountable.
Absolutely. And Pat Kelsey held you accountable.
Yes, he did. What did he do?
Yeah, you didn't watch the clip, remember? I asked him, I said, what do you subscribe to playing hard teams early? But Terrence, according to you, it sounds like the staff was saying a different message earlier in the season.
Yeah. They were telling me a little something different, like, holy shit, what are we doing?
Come on.
Hey, in retrospect, sure, but they were telling me something different when it happened.
Sloman.
That was an ass whooping.
All right, go ahead. Mark Sears, sorry.
He's just getting outplayed. He's getting beaten out. Like, if you can't give it, you load up your rosters because of this situation. If you're not playing well, somebody else on the bench is playing well, that guy's going to play. And Mark Sears is a fantastic player, but there's going to be times where you go 0 for 5. Aiden Holloway is going to be better on that particular night. And it's not saying that you're bad at anything. It's just saying that guy's really good. And I think it has more to do with that than anything else. He just has different options on that team that he can go to when somebody doesn't play well. It was interesting. I talked to Billy Donovan, not this year, it was last season. And he's like, you know what? We have a lot of talented young people on our team. And sometimes you're not doing anything wrong. It's just this guy's doing something so good, I can't take him off the floor. Mm-hmm. Like, am I going to bench this guy because you're doing all the – am I going to bench DeMar DeRozan, who was there at the time? Am I going to bench him in order to play you? Well, no, because we're paying that guy $200 something odd $1 million. Not the same in college. However, if you get outplayed and you're not playing well, that's why you load up your roster 10, 11 deep. So you don't play well, you get to sit. Next game, you probably start again. You'll be fine. To me, it's a non-issue. You get outplayed, you don't play.
I think this is Mark Sears is an older guy too. I just, you wonder if there's any, I don't want to be too quick to judge a player if there's other stuff that's going on that we don't know about. It's always hard, but like getting that emotional over not playing, Nate Oates is out there to win. And let's face it, it was a single-digit game with LSU. So I'm not sure what's going on other than, I think Mark is very passionate about winning and passionate about the game. But this Alabama team has all-stars on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to get outplayed by them. I'd like to think it's a good thing in the long run. I guess I'd rather have a player getting overly emotional than not emotional at all.
100%.
You both know what it looks like when a player checks out. I'm not overly worried. I think he's going to have his March moments. I wouldn't hit the panic button. I just think I think Nate's hard to play for too, in a good way. in a good way. Like, I think Nate is demanding of his guys. I think he's easy to play for from the respect of you're going to win, but I don't think anybody could play for Nate Oates. That's the standard he's developed.
Mm-hmm. And my guess is that it's as much of anything, it's like, I need you to be this guy and not just someone that sets the table for everyone else and whatever it is. And I wonder, I'm sure that they were probably.
Hey man, it's a hard balance too. Like,
yes,
when you get benched, it's a hard balance of like being supportive and all that stuff. Like, because you're so trained to focus on what can I do to control myself on the floor, and it's like you want to be great for your team, but you also want to stay locked in. And then that opportunity doesn't come. Like, as a player, that's hard, and I've been there. That's really, really hard. And I'm not sure. I'm curious if something happened in the locker room, because guys don't just break down and cry. He's faced a lot of pressure. You know, preseason National Player of the Year conversations, first team All-America preseason conversations, and it's hard. So, and then he's got all these other pieces coming into the fold, and like you want to balance your self-accomplishment with also helping the team win, and sometimes those things get convoluted a little bit.
Yep. And you know, when for me the biggest thing is, I don't think that Alabama can reach their ceiling without Mark Sears playing the right way, the way that Nate Oates needs them to play. And if this is the way to kind of reinforce that, then, you know, as long as you have a good enough relationship with Mark and his family to be able to say, look, sometimes you gotta the tough conversations, and it'll be all right.
Man, like Aiden Holloway went for 19. LeBaron Philon went for 11. He didn't have a great night, but like maybe they're just providing something different.
Yep.
Like, I just think that's what it is. I don't see this as a huge deal.
Yep.